Yes, hello and good morning. Welcome to the February meeting of the Fairfax County Economic Development Authority Commission. I am Andrew Taherzadeh, Assistant Director of Communications at the EDA. I'm your moderator for this meeting, which means I will have control over the audio functions of this Zoom call, and I will control the PowerPoint slides that will be used for the meeting. At this time, I would like to ask all those on this call to mute themselves. Now, I would like to welcome members of the commission to the meeting. Chairman Kathy Lang, Vice Chairman James Quigley, Secretary Ron Johnson, Treasurer and Assistant Secretary Stephen Partridge, and members Lenny Hainsworth, Rocky Mitchell, and Rick Wagner. FCEDA President and CEO Victor Hoskins and Executive Vice President Alex Imes are on the call, as are EDA Consul Mike Graff, a number of EDA staff members, and our marketing communications consultants. I would also like to welcome Fairfax County officials who have joined us for the public portion of the meeting. We have a short agenda for the open session, and then the commission will vote into a closed session. This open session is being recorded. Members of the EDA Commission who have questions will have the opportunity to ask questions as they normally would during meetings. If anyone from the public has any questions, please select the chat function at the bottom of the Zoom screen to ask a question, or email Cheryl Martelli of the FCEDA. Cheryl's email address will be posted in the chat box. We will not answer questions from the public during the meeting, but we will respond to all questions in writing afterward. So with that, I will ask Chairman Lang to begin the agenda. Chairman Lang.
Thank you very much, and welcome everyone to our February board meeting and to our annual retreat. Some exciting news. Lenny Hainsworth has joined yet another board. So now she is on the ADP board. She is on the Truist board, which is a huge financial services company, a bank, many banks put together, and Micron, which is one of our stars in Prince William County. And this is phenomenal. And I don't know whether, Steve, you and Lenny have had a chance to connect, but Systemic was one of those early programs that was done to help train tech workers for their workforce. And we were just years ago, we were trying to scale it. So I don't know, Steve, if you've had a chance to connect, but it was a fabulous program.
We haven't had any connect yet, but it still continues to grow here at the college, and several new grants just came through for it. So we're excited to keep partnering with Micron and the whole region, because I think that program gives a lot of students that different pathway into a lot of those jobs that people think aren't well paying, but often in a down economy, those can be better paying than many of us. So we're doing a lot to educate tomorrow's youth about these opportunities.
And so we're so glad that you'll be representing our voice, Lenny. So once again, welcome everyone. I do really hope everybody has been healthy and safe. But we're going to start with our agenda, which you all should have in your hands. And we are going to start with the approval of the minutes from the January meeting. So let me ask for a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve. This is Commissioner Quigley.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second, Rocky.
Thank you. And is there any discussion? So we'll call to question, and I'm going to ask our counsel to please do a roll call.
In no particular order, Mr. Wagner.
Aye.
Mr. Quigley.
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Ms. Hainsworth.
Aye.
Mr. Partridge.
Aye.
Dr. Johnson. Has Ron hasn't joined us?
Not yet.
Okay. Chairman Lang.
Aye. Okay.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike, very much. All right. So now we're going to move to our treasurer's report. I would like our Commissioner Steve and Treasurer Steve Partridge to present the financial report.
Sure. Hopefully everyone had a chance to look at the finances. I'll just give a few of the highlights. We are at the end of January, 58% of the way through our budget year, yet expenses to date have only equaled 54%. So we're trending a little lower. Now, there are a few standouts if you look at the breakdown. The talent initiative, we've expended about 72% of the $800,000 budget. We want to definitely make sure we spend that down. And Mike's been doing a great job keeping us informed of all the good work the initiative's been doing. So keep up the good work, Mike. Some of the other areas, professional services lines a little higher, and that's partly because the economic recovery strategy contract that was done in collaboration with the county has been moving forward. And so as the year comes to a close in a couple months, some of those offsets will be taken into account because we don't have much travel this year. So overall, the budget's looking good, and we'll continue to work with staff as the year gets further along to make sure we expend those remaining funds.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Great. Very good. Thank you. So now we are going to address a resolution that was presented to you regarding an IRB, some IRB matters that are for bonds for Trinity Christian School and Service Source. So I'm going to ask our council to make some comments and answer any questions.
Thanks, Kathy. As many of you know, who have been part of the revenue bond financings that we've assisted primarily nonprofits with over the years, occasionally we receive requests from existing revenue bond recipients, if you will, for us to facilitate their ability to modify their existing revenue bond deals. Particularly when those modifications that are really the result of negotiations between the nonprofits and their true lenders, particularly when they relate to changing interest rates. We often receive these requests to provide our consent on relatively short notice because the lenders are not able to sort of fix or honor the more advantageous interest rates and other terms for a particularly long period of time. And as I think all of you know, and it's always good to remind, our role in these financings is to serve as a pass-through or a conduit to allow certain qualifying borrowers. In Fairfax County, it's primarily nonprofits and governments, the county, to access the lending markets on a tax-advantaged basis by being able to borrow money from lenders who do not have to pay income tax on the interest that they earn on the loans, thereby reducing the interest rate at which they're willing to lend money. But in that connection, our role is crucial for a number of reasons. One being it's a prerequisite to the achievement of the tax exemption and the advantaged terms to the borrowers, and that's the reason that we're involved in the documentation of the revenue bond financings in the first instance, and also it's the reason that as a documentary matter we're required to consent when there are modifications to existing revenue bond deals. So that's all by way of introduction to describe to you the specifics of the two modifications that are referenced in the resolution. So in the last week or two, I was contacted by Trinity Christian School on the one hand and Service Source on the other. And Trinity Christian School is a nonprofit elementary and secondary school on Braddock Road. They've done campus financings with tax exempt revenue bonds that the EDA has issued as a conduit. And then Service Source is a sort of a social services provider. Their main line of business is a very large organization. Their main line of business involves placing disabled folks, special needs folks into the workforce, primarily fulfilling government contracts. So, for example, they'll place those sorts of folks into the fulfillment of U.S. Postal Service contracts, for example. And they're also a nonprofit and also have done capital expenditure improvements to their facilities in Fairfax County, including their headquarters in Oakton, with the proceeds of tax-exempt revenue bonds that the EDA assisted them with. And so both of them have approached us, and in the resolution that's before you, there's a paragraph or two paragraphs entitled modifications that describe the modifications to the Trinity Christian School deal that Trinity Christian School and John Marshall have agreed to. And then the second paragraph under modifications describes the modifications that ServiceSource and Capital One, its lender, have agreed to. The next section of the resolution talks about the requirement for the EDA to consent in order to facilitate those modifications becoming effective. The next section of the resolution on page 2 emphasizes our conduit pass-through role, the fact that we haven't been responsible for the existing bond issues. We're not responsible for the modifications or the modified bond issues going forward. The commissioners of the EDA don't have any liability with respect to the financings, and describes the indemnification that the applicants provide to us, their payment of all our costs and expenses. And then the final paragraphs on the second page of the resolution simply memorialize your consent to the modifications and authorize the officers of the EDA to execute the modification documents. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that any of the commissioners may have.
Are there any questions?
So, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I had a little difficulty with my signing in, so thank you for your forbearance.
Oh, we're glad you made it.
Yes, I do have a couple of questions about this, Attorney Kraft, if you don't mind. In paragraph 1, I noticed there that you have elected to combine both of the actions for which you want the commission to approve this morning. Is there any particular reason why these are not bifurcated?
There's not any substantive reason, Dr. Johnson. I think I was maybe a little sensitive to the fact that these requests came in on short notice, and I sort of used my prerogative as your relatively new counsel to seek to get them put on the agenda on relatively short notice to try to assist the applicants. So I thought it would be more simple to combine them into a single resolution. I'm certainly open to bifurcating them if that's the pleasure of the commission.
No, my suggestion is, and I don't know how the other commissioners feel, I'll let the chair orchestrate us through that. But I was thinking in terms of recording this historically in your file and in the EDA file, it might be helpful that if we went to one of these organizations to get the dates, the timelines for actions that we have taken, if they were bifurcated, and they would be located in those folders separately. I understand the efficacy of putting them together today for our vote, which I certainly would vote for approval of. But on a process basis, I would just like you to consider with the chair after we sign off on this today, to convert them to 2 documents if it's not a problem.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. And in fact, Dr. Johnson, I've been working just this week with David Kelly and Ann Rosenblum on sort of process issues and records keeping issues with respect to the revenue bond program. And I've been trying to improve my services in that regard, working with those members of your staff. So your suggestion comes at an apt time, and I'll certainly work with them to make sure that that we've got the approvals in the right buckets for record keeping purposes.
Well, thank you, Council. This is just a friendly suggestion, okay? Friendly suggestion. Thank you. I do have one other point, though. As has been the case previously, and I know we're navigating some new waters here, that we are presented with some information relative to the original amounts of the instruments. You have appropriately noted that there is about 9 million and 6.6 million respectively for these two actions here. Do you have a record of what the original amounts were with you right now? If not, could you share those with us later?
Yeah, certainly. I don't have that at top of mind, but we certainly have records. I want to say that the service source transaction has been curtailed from maybe 10 million to the 6.65. And I think the Trinity Christian School has been curtailed from maybe 13 or 14 million to the 9 million, but I can certainly provide you with that specific information as a follow-up.
Okay, thank you very much, Council. And thank you, Madam Chair. I think that would be very helpful if we could get that. There was one other point I wanted to make here. Has the, to your knowledge though, has the financial position of either one of these nonprofits, changed substantially or materially since we entered into these agreements back in one case, I guess, 10 years ago, and the other one about the same time, well, one in 2014. Are you aware of any financial or material changes in operations or anything related thereto regarding these two nonprofits?
The only thing that I can report is, so Trinity Christian School has had their bond financing out for quite some time. And this is, I believe, the second time that they have successfully modified or refinanced it. So that leads me to believe that the banking community, continues to find them to be, an appropriate partner to provide continued financing to. And Service Source, I believe this is the second time that they've modified their transaction as well with Capital One. So that's sort of a good indication that at least their lenders continue to have confidence in them and continue to offer them improved terms when there are pivot points at which they can refinance.
Okay, I certainly do appreciate that. Given the pandemic and things related thereto, it would not be surprising if any of these institutions were having some challenges, which is to be expected during these days, And from my perspective, just hearing you say that, in your opinion, that there is no reason for us to think that their financial positions have materially changed in any way that would impact on their ability to repay this indebtedness, then I have no further questions, Madam Chair, to Council about this.
I think that's a good way to look at it, Dr. Johnson. I'll add one thing anecdotally and I don't know if others on the call have heard this, but kind of ironically, if you will, the independent schools in the county and elsewhere in Northern Virginia have actually sort of benefited from, in a strange way, from COVID. I think that they maybe have been able to offer some different types of services by way of how they provide their educational services that's been attractive to families. So I just throw that out there for another sort of anecdotal piece of evidence.
And I agree. It just so happens, if I take a moment of personal privilege here, I have two grandkids who are in private schools here in the county. And to your point, those institutions are doing very well, and those kids are getting very, very good structured learning during the pandemic. And I am very proud of all of those schools, as I am of our applicant this morning. So thank you, Council, for that.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Johnson, for bringing up those points. And we'll move to the resolution. And I am in support of splitting them into two documents so that we have the right paper trail as we move forward. And thank you, Council, for diving in and helping us through this process. So you all have the resolution, and so is there a motion to adopt the resolution of the Fairfax County Economic Development Authority with respect to the proposed revenue bond modifications as presented?
I so move, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Is there a second?
Second, Lenny.
Thank you, Commissioner Hainsworth. Okay, so I'm going to call to question, and I'm going to ask the council to do a roll call.
Mr. Wagner,
Aye.
Mr. Quigley, I'll come back to Jim. Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Hainsworth,
Yes.
Mr. Partridge,
Aye.
Dr. Johnson,
Aye.
Chairman Lang,
Aye.
and is James on?
He's on,
Yeah,
but he's
step
not
away.
there.
Yeah.
Maybe he
Okay.
stepped away.
All right.
Okay.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the commission's indulgence on this on relatively short notice. It is I know the applicants will be grateful that we were able to react.
Mike, James is back, just so.
Sorry, I had a little emergency. I've had the kids doing virtual school here and internet was a little burpy, so I was the home tech guy. Yeah,
James,
I approve I'd add my vote to the commission.
thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, very good. Well, we have completed our open session and we're going to be moving into closed session. I want to thank everybody who's joined, who will not be part of the closed session, for joining us this morning. And so we will be moving, as I said, into our closed session, which is for a retreat. And I will be issuing a motion. And this is a very formal motion, just so you know. I asked our council to help us to make sure that we are in adherence with our statutes. So here you go. Is there a motion to convene in closed session pursuant to Virginia Code sections 2.2-3711A5 and 6 to discuss 1, prospective businesses and industries or the expansion of existing businesses or industries where no previous announcement has been made of the interest in locating or expanding facilities in the community, and 2, the investment of public funds where competition or bargaining is involved, and if made public, the financial interests of the EDA would be adversely affected. So I would like to ask a motion for approval to move into the closed session.
I'll make a
So
motion.
moved.
Yep, so moved.
Okay, great. And then a second? Was that?
Second.
Yeah, I'll
Thank
second.
you very much. Okay, very good. Thank you very much. And so is there any further discussion? All right, I'm going to call to question and ask our council once again to do a roll call.
Mr. Wagner,
Aye.
Mr. Quigley,
All right.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Hainsworth,
Aye.
Mr. Partridge,
Aye.
Dr. Johnson,
Aye.
Chairman Lang.
Aye. Okay, so now we'll go. Is there a motion to reconvene, pardon me, into open session?
Make a motion
Okay.
to reconvene.
Yes, and then do I hear a second?
Second, Commissioner Partridge.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, I call to question. I assume Mike is still on. I will ask you to do the roll.
Very good. Thanks, Kathy. Mr. Wagner,
Aye.
Mr. Quigley,
Aye, sorry.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Hainsworth,
Aye.
Mr. Partridge,
Aye.
Dr. Johnson,
Aye.
Chairman Lang.
Aye. And I think we just need to certify that what we said we were going to cover from the motion that we have covered, and that has been a part of what the closed session was about.
Yeah, thanks, Kathy. So we're back in open session, and just to kind of provide some color on this topic, Kathy and Victor and I and all of us take very seriously the open meeting rules. And so, I reviewed the agenda for our discussions this morning, and observed the discussions. And so from my perspective, all that was discussed, falls within the categories of information that is appropriate to keep confidential, because it all relates to business and industry prospects, and strategy associated with the allocation of our resources. And so those sorts of strategic discussions are appropriate under those provisions of the Freedom of Information Act to be held in closed session. So wanted to give you all that background. And then the statutory requirement would be, I'm going to ask each of the commissioners to certify that only public business matters exempt from open meeting requirements that were identified in the motion by which we entered the closed session were discussed in the closed session. Any questions on that before I call the roll?
Nope.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Wagner,
I do certify.
Mr. Quigley,
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell,
Affirmed.
Ms. Hainsworth,
Yes.
Mr. Partridge,
Aye.
Dr. Johnson,
Confirm.
Chairman Lang.
Aye. Okay, and so I think, thank you very much. I think we will now move to close for the day. I don't think we need to do a roll call on that, do we, Mike?
No, I think we can adjourn by acclamation if there's no objection.
Okay, any objection? Lenny, I got you out at 12:43. And Rocky, 12:43.